I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about, is my ex over me? Are they? I need to know.
We gotta know.
Yeah, it really feels like somebody is over you when they end a relationship. Once they say they don't want to be with you anymore, it just feels kind of final. They're cold, they're mean, they're not talking to you. They're cutting you off. Sometimes they're taking you off of social media, and it makes you just feel like, man, they're not even going to think about me anymore. Like, this is horrible.
Right. And so we want to start out with defining what being over somebody really means. Because sometimes we have this fear that it is final, that they're never going to think about us again, that we are completely deleted from their life and have no chance of reconnection whatsoever. When, as we always say, there's a lot of gray in everything.
Yeah, because love is so powerful. I don't think there's anything stronger than love. That feeling, you can love somebody and kind of always have love for them. Even if you don't want to be with them anymore, it doesn't mean that there's not love still there, right? So it gets kind of confusing because, like, what is over somebody? It can mean a lot of different things.
Right.
It's not black and white.
Yeah, it's definitely not clear cut. And we all have moments where we reminisce, where we reconsider our relationship, even if at some times we feel like we are 100% over it. I'm never going to think about him or her again. And so we just want to put some of this perspective out there. And also, your ex can seem over you, and we can get the impression that our ex is over us without actually knowing.
That's big. That's a really big point right there. Somebody appearing like they're over you versus how they're feeling internally is very different. Okay? And I see this all the time. I see all the time exes come back who are cold, mean, said we'd never be together again. They're never going to give it another chance. And then they're telling you, I thought about you every day. I couldn't stop thinking about our relationship. I missed you, etc., etc.
Exactly. And some of the things that might make you think that they're over you is things like them posting pictures on social media.
Or removing them.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Removing them is brutal. Man, I'll tell you, you may have heard me say this before. I went to do a show one time, and I was there with two of my good friends, and literally, as I'm about to have to go on stage, I'm on the Facebook watching her delete my pictures, one by one. No. It was horrible. It was so painful to go through that because I was still obviously not over that relationship. I am talking about the Applebee's girl, by the way. So that one was brutal. Oh my gosh. I was out of town with my friends. And so I'm trying to concentrate and go over my jokes. But at the same time, I'm thinking about where she is on that Friday night or Saturday night or whatever it was. And looking if she's posting pictures. No, she's removing them. She's at home removing them.
Oh my gosh. When you're in that moment, you feel like you have nothing left to think. What am I supposed to think when these pictures are gone?
Yeah.
What is she doing? What is her intent? Or what is his intent?
Yeah. So posting pictures and removing pictures. And the thing that gets a lot of people too, if somebody just changes their profile picture, it feels devastating. Like you really feel like that's it. They moved on. I'm out of, even if you weren't in the picture, all they have to do is change the profile picture. And it's very odd how just putting a new picture up makes us feel like we've been left behind.
We're seeing our partner create their new identity without you. And that's really terrifying.
Doing something that you weren't at or invited to, and it just hurts even more.
Exactly. The other thing is if you see an ex being with somebody else, posting pictures with somebody else.
Brutal.
If you find out through a friend that they're dating again, or if there was somebody that they left you for. Another thing is if you see your ex with somebody else or hear that they've been dating again. So these are some things that might make you think, well, if they are seeing other people, if they're opening up their heart to others, then they must be completely done with me. They must have completely shut the door with me,
Yep.
which is not always the case.
No, it's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, most of the times, the rebound situation doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times after that is when they want to revisit things with you. And some people get very sensitive about that. Well, I wouldn't want to be with them if they've dated somebody after me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a personal choice, but what if you don't find somebody for another few years that you really care about? Think about all the people they're going to be dating in the meantime,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I don't know. I just, it's a personal decision, but I think some of you guys get a little too sensitive about that. If you really love somebody and they were unhappy in the relationship, obviously you have to consider all those factors,
Right.
why they were unhappy, why they left, yada, yada. You can't just make it black and white, I don't think.
Right. And you guys are in a very sensitive and vulnerable position if you're going through a breakup. It's easy to take every single behavior that your ex does as something personal, as something that has some sort of hidden meaning about you and is directed towards you, when sometimes it's not at all. Sometimes they're exploring, focused on themselves, living their own life. And while that can be hurtful on its own, we have to stop demonizing our ex and thinking that everything they do is a personal attack.
Yes, and I did that.
Yeah.
There were little things that one of my exes or several of my exes would do, and it just felt like it was all about me and her, right? It was me and that situation that felt like it was somehow something, some clue, some piece of the puzzle that it means this big thing. But it just doesn't work like that. When you're going through it, it feels like that. I understand, but trust me, I've been doing this long enough to see that those little things often don't mean very much at all. Now, if you see married to someone else, that's another story.
Yeah, they've made some serious commitments.
Then we'll
there.
have to talk. We got to talk about that.
Yeah. The other thing is if they seem unbothered by the breakup, which this is so common for exes to be cold, to be distant, and sometimes we might see that behavior. It might be completely different from their normal warmth that we're used to, and we might think, oh my God, they're serious. They
Yes.
are really done with me. They are over me. Just look at how they're acting. Look at how short their texts are, or look at how there's no heart emojis.
Yes, of course. And not everybody will have a chance with their ex. Not everybody is going to hear from their ex. Not everyone is going to have an opportunity to turn things around with their ex for a lot of different reasons. But many of you will have an ex acting cold and like they don't care or they're unbothered that the breakup is even happening. So don't assume that it's going to always be like that.
And the crazy thing is they might even tell you that they're over you, and their internal state might be completely different. So we don't say that to you for you to doubt everything that your ex says and to question everything and to not trust them, but rather sometimes when we're highly emotionally charged, it can be hard to identify exactly what it is that we're feeling. And we might say things just to protect ourselves, to give ourselves space to think things through and to avoid giving somebody the wrong idea.
And I think they're going to be particularly more likely to do that if you've been pushing them or pressuring them.
Exactly.
Okay? They're not going to be as likely to do that if you're leaving them alone. There's no reason for them to.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. You have to remember that your ex's experience is extremely complex. They have their own past experiences that are coming up into the picture. They have their own fears about what will happen, and they have their own process of grief.
And their own attachment issues.
Exactly. They're probably going to experience a wide array of emotions just like you will.
Yes.
And so as their feelings change, their perspective on life change, their perspective on the relationship changes. And from there is really when people start to reconsider things.
That's right.
So if in the moment they're feeling, I'm done with you, I don't want to talk to you ever again in my life, they're feeling angry. They need space.
Yeah. Yeah. Their feelings will change as they process things, think about things, calm down about things, realize that some things weren't as important as they felt at the time, and that it's not worth losing somebody over that thing. People come to terms with things, or maybe they say, okay, you have these qualities and do these things that I don't like, but I still love you, and maybe we can work through it. You know? And that's what an adult is ideally going to do. Consider all those factors.
Exactly.
But you need to leave them alone. You have to leave them alone.
Yeah, you have to give them that space to go through their process.
Because what do they need to feel?
They need to feel grief.
They need to feel grief, and then they have to get uncertain.
Aha.
Uncertain, right? But they're only going to feel that if you leave them alone. Do the work in no contact. You have to stay motivated, okay? Because I cannot tell you how many times over the years people, they think they're not going to get their ex back. They get depressed. They don't do the work. They don't go through what they have to. And then they're in another breakup.
Exactly.
And look at the comments. Look at the comments about people saying they haven't come back after 3 years, 4 years. I'm sorry, but if you're still waiting for an ex after 3 or 4 years, you haven't done real work with a therapist. You're not doing the workbooks. You're not really processing and healing from it. We don't want anybody to put their life on hold that long. Some people got upset about the 50 years video we did.
Really?
Yeah. I saw a lot of comments. I'm not waiting 50 years for my ex to come back.
Wait 50 years.
And that wasn't what we're trying to say at all. We're showing you that people don't forget about you and that they can even come back after almost an entire lifetime. It doesn't mean put your life on hold that long at all. It's just showing you that when you're feeling like somebody's going to forget about you after 4 months, people aren't forgetting you after 50 years. The guy was using her birthday as a password 50 years later. I mean, that's wild.
That's a long amount of time. Yeah, and if you are finding yourself years later still thinking these thoughts and still wondering if your ex is thinking about you, still very emotionally involved, then really look into those deeper issues. There's probably some deeper attachment wounds below all of that. We really, really, really encourage you to look at that.
You got to really look at your relationship with your parents. You do.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you're sitting there 3 years, 4 years later watching these videos, it's because you haven't worked through that enough, and you have to.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's really about you and not about them.
And it also takes a level of sitting with your own uncertainty. Yeah, there is a possibility that your ex is over you, that they're not reconsidering the relationship. But what does that mean for you? Does that mean that you're going to stop working on yourself? Does that mean that you're going to stop trying to improve yourself and become this amazing partner for whoever it is that's out there for you? So we really challenge you to think about your thinking, to ask questions about your questions. Why are you asking this question of if your ex is over you? And what does that mean for your life if they are or if they aren't?
You don't want to be the person that's doing a call with me 2 years later saying, I haven't been doing the work. I didn't do what I needed to do. Now my ex has come back and I messed it up after 4 months. Because I hear that and stories like that all the time. If you do the work and you focus on healing your attachment issues, becoming more secure and confident, no matter who you date, you're going to do great. Learn to be a better partner. Don't do it for your ex. If you have to do it for your ex in the beginning, great. Use them as the motivation. But ultimately, you have to do it for yourself because it's your life. But sadly, most people will only do the work if they think they're going to get somebody back. And I don't want to see that for any of you. Do it for yourself.
Exactly. Lots to think about.
Yeah. So thinking about, is your ex over you? It's complicated. They're likely always going to think about you. I think about just about every girl I've ever dated from time to time. Okay? They're not going to forget about you. Maybe for some reason they think it can't work. But does that mean that they're truly over you? In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. It's not black or white, right?
Exactly. There's a lot of gray and a lot of things to consider. So we're hoping that this video was helpful for you to put together the pieces and also just to ask yourself those really critical questions.
Yeah. And of course, we're here to coach you through it and talk to you about these things because we talk to people around the world every day about breakups and we see things and patterns and we're going to have insights that you're probably not picking up on. Okay? If you want to get with us, schedule a session, go to my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here if you need to talk.
Just click on her name on the top of the website. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.